If you ever want to know who truly stands beside you, don't pay attention when life is kind. Pay attention when you're grieving so hard the world feels blurry. When your home echoes. Your heart stumbles. And all you have left is trust. That's when people show you who they are. I learned that truth the day someone I loved forged my name on a $78,000 loan. And tried to rewrite the future I'd spent a lifetime building. My name is Leonard Cole, and this is the story of how losing my wife brought me closer to my family. Only to discover someone in that home wasn't welcoming me. They were using me. When my wife Evelyn passed away last winter, the world didn't just get quieter. It got smaller. 39 years together, and suddenly every room felt too big. Her scarf still lay on the sofa. Her favorite mug sat on the windowsill like she'd just stepped out for a minute. Her handwriting still filled the calendar with reminders I couldn't bring myself to erase. Silence has a way of crushing you if you sit with it too long. My son, Marcus, called constantly at first. He has Evelyn's softness, gentle voice, patient heart. But none of her suspicion. He believes in people easily. Maybe too easily. Dad, he told me one night. You shouldn't stay alone right now. Come stay with us in Brookside. Please. His fiancée, Tara, seemed supportive. Almost too supportive. She ran an online lifestyle brand called Glowpath Studio. Full of color-coded planners, meditation clips, and perfectly curated optimism. The first time I met her, she hugged me a little too long. Like she wanted the moment on camera. But grief makes you overlook what you shouldn't. So I moved in. At first, Tara was sunshine and affirmations. Everything was about positive flow, visual harmony, energetic alignment. Her townhouse looked more like a showroom than a home. Ring lights in corners, spotless counters, candles always burning. Then the red flags started showing, small and subtle. One morning, she casually mentioned the exact amount of my retirement savings. A number I had never told her. When I asked how she knew, she smiled and said, "Oh, Marcus must have mentioned it." But I could tell by the flicker in her eyes that he hadn't. Another time, I found her rearranging Evelyn's scarf to fit the room's mood board. She didn't even ask. Her cheerful invasiveness seeped into everything. If I set down a book, she moved it for visual balance. If I sat in the living room, she'd nudge me aside to film another cozy morning reset. I wasn't a guest in their home. I was a background extra on her set. Still, I ignored the gut feeling telling me something was off. When you're grieving, you cling to any version of stability, even if it's fake. Then came the night I tried to make Evelyn's lentil stew. The one she wrote in her notebook, stained and worn at the edges. As I chopped vegetables, Tara walked in filming and said, "Oh my God, that old notebook is so cute on camera." Cute. My wife's handwriting. That was the moment something in me changed. Quietly, but permanently. Years working in logistics taught me that patterns matter. When things start slipping out of place, you pay attention. So I started documenting small things. Dates, comments, behaviors. Not because I suspected anything huge. But because the house didn't feel like a place where the truth was safe. Everything shifted the day I found a cluttered drawer under the microwave. Stuffed with expired coupons, dead batteries. An unopened mail addressed to me. I opened the envelopes casually at first. Then my eyes caught a sentence that made the room tilt. Loan confirmation, $78,000 approved. Guarantor, Leonard Cole. My breath caught. Guarantor? For Glowpath Studio. My signature was on the form. Or rather, someone's shaky impersonation of it. Someone trying to mimic the handwriting of an older grieving man. But it wasn't mine. A cold, metallic fear settled in my stomach. If that loan collapsed, and judging from Tara's lifestyle, collapse was coming. The bank could take everything Evelyn and I had saved. Even the $310,000 I contributed for Marcus and Tara's home. Money built over decades. Gone with a pen stroke I never made. I sat down, gripping the paper so tightly the corners bent. For a long moment, I didn't hear anything. Not the fridge humming. Not the cars outside. Just my heartbeat in my ears. Then Tara's voice floated from the living room. Bright and syrupy on a live stream. Talking about abundance. New funding. And a massive expansion on the horizon. She spoke about abundance. While hiding a loan she couldn't afford. Behind my name. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Rage clouds judgment. And I needed clarity. So I copied the documents. Filed them with my notes. And slipped the folder into my jacket pocket. Then, under my breath, I repeated something I said 1,000 times. Whenever a shipment didn't match its manifest. Follow the paperwork, Leonard. The truth is always written somewhere. But what I didn't know then. What I couldn't know. Was that Tara wasn't the only person rewriting my future. This forged signature. Was only the beginning. If discovering the forged loan was a spark. What came next was the fire finally finding oxygen. For days afterward, I carried that folder everywhere. Pressed under my arm while grocery shopping. Tucked beside me when I read in the evening. It was strange. Holding proof that something terrible was happening. Yet having nowhere safe to place the truth. Meanwhile, the house continued spinning in Tara's curated orbit. Every morning, she'd glide through the townhouse filming a Glowpath gratitude reset. Her voice sugary and flawless. Her smile stretched wide enough to hide whatever was cracking underneath. And Marcus. My son moved behind her like a shadow. He admired her confidence the way a man admires a lighthouse. Not realizing how often the light is artificial. One afternoon he approached me with a hesitant tone. Hey, Dad. Tara mentioned you've been kinda forgetful lately. Do you want me to help update your passwords? Just to make things easier. Forgetful. The word hit harder than I expected. I realized then. Tara wasn't just shaping her reputation online. She was shaping mine inside this house. And Marcus wasn't malicious. He was trusting. Too trusting. Evelyn once told me. Our son sees the world gently, Leonard. Just be careful, gentle hearts get manipulated the fastest. I should have listened to her. I wanted to believe Marcus had chosen someone good. Maybe that want blinded me. 2 days later, I woke early and padded toward the kitchen. That's when I heard Tara on the phone. Her influencer tone replaced by something sharp, breathless. No, you don't understand, she whispered urgently. If they don't get the numbers by Monday, the whole team will panic. Just make the transfer look natural. He can't find out yet. A pen tapped rapidly against the counter. Her breathing was shallow, the first real crack in her mask. As soon as she heard my footsteps, she snapped into her sunny persona. Oh. Leonard. Morning. I'm just gathering ideas for next week's content. T. Her voice was polished again. But now I'd seen the raw, unfiltered version beneath. And once you see the real thing, you can't unsee it. That afternoon, while Tara filmed another soft launch announcement, I went downstairs to the basement. Their supposed inventory storage. Instead of shelves of products, I found empty boxes arranged like props. Blank journals meant for photo staging. And printed labels never attached to anything. Glowpath Studio wasn't thriving. It wasn't even active. It was performance. A brand made of angles, lighting, and wishful thinking. Every sold-out drop was a lie. Every expansion update was a caption. Every team success was lifted from stock photography websites. The more I saw, the tighter my chest grew. This wasn't mismanagement. This was a carefully crafted illusion. And my forged signature was one of the pillars holding it up. Years working in logistics taught me never to trust memory alone. People misremember. Paperwork doesn't. So I slipped a small recorder into my shirt pocket. And began capturing the quiet moments. Tara pressuring Marcus to keep certain things between us. A call ending the second I walked into the room. Her not-so-subtle references to my declining awareness. Mentions of investors waiting and deadlines that didn't match anything real. None of the recordings were explosive alone. But patterns don't require explosions. Just consistency. And the pattern here was undeniable. One Friday evening, Tara hosted a large Glowpath live stream. Dozens of women tuned in, praising her, believing her. She spoke with flawless conviction about her fast-growing collective. Her dedicated team. And massive expansion on the horizon. Then she said the words that turned my blood cold. We're blessed to have a quiet, generous supporter. Who believes in Glowpath more deeply than anyone else. He's the backbone of our growth. She smiled directly into the camera. Warm. Loving. He's family. He's our anchor. She was talking about me. She had built an entire narrative for her audience. Where I wasn't just a relative. I was her financial lifeline. Her silent investor. Her benefactor. A role she'd created. Using a stolen signature. And a loan she couldn't repay. She spoke about abundance. While hiding a debt built behind my back. The comments exploded with hearts and gratitude. People praised the sweet father-in-law who believes in her mission. Someone even wrote. Men like him are rare. Rare. I felt sick. This wasn't admiration. It was weaponizing my identity to legitimize her lies. Later that night, after Tara went upstairs to edit her clips. I sat alone in the glow of her ring light still fading from the walls. I opened my folder. The forged loan paperwork. My notes. And now, recordings capturing her pressure, excuses, manipulation. It wasn't enough for a confrontation. But it was enough to seek help. So I called the one person I trusted. With anything involving contracts, signatures, or financial trails. Nora Kensington. A former coworker now working at Lakeview Credit Union. She had the kind of mind that didn't overlook inconsistencies. She treated paperwork the way surgeons treat scalpels. With precision. When I sent her images of the loan documents. She called within minutes. Leonard, this signature isn't yours. It doesn't match anything in your historical file. Her tone shifted, heavier. And the timestamp metadata on the application doesn't line up. Someone manipulated this. Hearing it confirmed by a professional didn't calm me. It shook me. Because now it wasn't suspicion. It was evidence. And Nora wasn't finished. If this was deliberate, Leonard. There are probably more irregularities. People who forge once rarely stop at one forgery. Her words lodged in my chest. Like a truth I'd been avoiding. I had followed the paperwork. But now the paperwork was pointing somewhere darker. And Tara's forgery. It wasn't the beginning. It was simply the first piece of a much bigger lie. Some humiliations arrive gently. Quietly. Almost politely. And some arrive like a spotlight. Bright, cold, and aimed straight at your dignity. For me, it happened on a gray Saturday morning. When I stepped outside and saw my belongings. Scattered across Tara and Marcus's front lawn. Boxes. Clothes. My toolbox overturned on the sidewalk. And worst of all. Evelyn's recipe journal, lying face down in the wet grass. When I picked it up, the ink on the corner had blurred. As if even her handwriting was dissolving under this chaos. For a moment. I wasn't 70. I was 7. Watching adults decide my life without asking me. My chest hollowed out. At first, I thought maybe there had been a break-in. A misunderstanding. But then I saw her. Tara stood near the walkway. Phone raised, ring light clipped on. Framing the disaster like it was a scene from a show she directed. Today is difficult, she told her live stream softly. But sometimes love means making hard choices. Hearts floated up the screen. Comments rolled in fast. You're doing the right thing. Elder care is hard, bless you. Protect your peace, Queen. I felt sick. Marcus stood beside her. Arms crossed like he wasn't sure who he was supposed to be. Dad, he said quietly. Tara said you wandered outside last night. Your slippers were on the porch. And you forgot to turn the stove off. We're worried. Wandered. Slippers. Stove. And then I saw it. My slippers deliberately placed beside the porch steps. Placed. Not left. Evidence. Manufactured. Piece by piece, she'd been painting me as incompetent. Forgetful. Unsafe. The realization stung deeper than the cold morning air. Tara lowered the camera, but only slightly. Leonard, she said with that syrupy softness. It's okay to admit when you need help. We've arranged a suite for you at Silverwood Assisted Living. Just until you're stable again. Stable. She said it like a diagnosis. My throat tightened. If Evelyn were alive, she would have stepped between us. Unmoving, unafraid. And Tara wouldn't dare speak to me this way. But Evelyn was gone. And Tara knew exactly how to use that absence. I reached into my jacket. Tapped the folder. The forged loan paperwork, the notes, the recordings. Tara's smile faltered. Just for a heartbeat. Her eyes darted, quick, sharp. A flash of panic before she snapped the mask back on. In one sharp inhale. Then she turned back to her live stream. He's confused, she cooed. We're helping him transition with dignity. Dignity. As she filmed my life in the grass. A neighbor must have called. Because moments later Officer Rowan arrived. A familiar face from the community. Mr. Cole, he asked gently. You all right here? Before I could speak, Tara stepped forward. Officer, he's been declining for months. We're helping him move somewhere safe. She touched Marcus's arm as if to anchor him in her script. But her eyes stayed locked on the folder like it was a ticking bomb. Officer Rowan watched her carefully. Ma'am, I'll talk to him directly. He guided me aside. And I let the folder open. The forged loan. Nora's notes about metadata inconsistencies. Printouts of Glowpatha's fake product photos. Screenshots of Tara's live stream calling me her financial backer. My logged observations. He flipped through slowly. The lines between his brows tightening. This is serious, Leonard, he said quietly. This isn't a health issue. This looks like intentional financial manipulation. Behind us, several neighbors whispered. Phones recorded. Tara's smile froze harder, thinner. Marcus approached. His voice trembling. Tara. Is any of this true? His eyes searched hers for reassurance. Something, anything. But Tara's jaw clenched. Her mask cracked fully now. Her eyes burned into me. You weren't supposed to wake up to this, she hissed. You don't get to change the story now. I had everything perfect. Perfect. Her voice wasn't sweet anymore. It was sharp enough to cut. Officer Rowan stepped between us. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back. There's an active investigation here. Tara blinked. A single, stunned second. Before she tried to reassemble her smile. But it was too late. Everyone had seen the truth. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was Nora. "Leonard," she said urgently. I dug deeper into the loan logs. There are more discrepancies. This wasn't a one-time forgery. And the bank's fraud team wants to interview you today. When I looked up, Officer Rowan was already watching me. He knew. Marcus looked between us. His voice breaking. "Dad. Did she really take money in your name?" I didn't have to answer. Tara's silence did. As the officer gathered statements. And the neighbors watched Tara's perfect world crumble. I realized something chilling. This wasn't the fallout. It was only the detonation. The real destruction. The deeper lies. Were still buried underneath. And they were about to surface. The morning after the lawn incident. The townhouse didn't sound like Tara's home anymore. No soft meditation music. No diffusers humming. No Glowpath morning reset playing in the background. Even the candles Tara always kept burning for her videos sat cold and unlit. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. Like the house was exhaling the lies it had been holding. Marcus sat at the kitchen table. Hands loose, eyes unfocused. He looked like a man caught between two collapsing worlds. "Dad," he finally said. Voice thin. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I studied his face. Evelyn's gentleness lived in his features. But none of her suspicion. "I didn't want you to think badly of her," I said. "Or badly of yourself." His jaw tightened as he swallowed. He wasn't angry. He was breaking. Upstairs, drawers slammed. Closets opened. Footsteps paced hard across the floorboards. Then Tara appeared on the stairs. Hair disheveled. A duffel bag half-zipped in her hand. Her mask was already crumbling. "Marcus," she said sharply. "We're leaving. Today. Just until this all settles." Marcus blinked like he couldn't understand the language she was speaking. "Leave? Tara, there's an investigation. And Dad didn't forge anything. You did." Her breath caught. A fast, shallow inhale. "You don't understand," she snapped. "He ruined everything." Marcus's face went pale. As if the floor had tilted beneath him. "Tara, what do you mean, ruined?" Her eyes flashed. Pupils tightening like a cornered predator. "I had a plan," she hissed. "And he wasn't supposed to interfere." Then, just as quickly. She softened her voice. Mask sliding back into place. "Leonard, sweetheart," she said sweetly. "You're confused. You don't know what you saw. Everything I did was to help us." Gaslighting. Calm. Gentle. Deadly. A knock broke the tension. Officer Rowan stepped in. Clipboard in hand. "Mr. Cole, I need your formal statement," he said. Tara straightened her posture. Reset her smile in one sharp breath. "Officer," she cooed. "This is all a misunderstanding. We're just trying to help him transition safely." Rowan held up a hand. "Ms. Lawson, I need to speak with him first." Her nostrils flared. Just slightly. But enough. While Rowan and I moved to the living room. My phone rang. "Nora." "Leonard," she said, voice urgent. "The signature is confirmed falsified. And there were multiple attempts to access your online banking. From your home." A cold ripple went through me. "Is it recent?" "Very," she said. "And Leonard, we found inconsistencies in another loan inquiry." Not yours this time, but tied to the same IP. Another loan. Another lie. Another trap. Nora's tone softened. This goes deeper than one forged form. Do you want us to dig further? My answer was steady. Yes. Find everything. After giving her statement, Tara approached me again. Voice trembling. Eyes shimmering with manufactured remorse. Leonard. I'm sorry things escalated. Glowpath was supposed to thrive. I just needed a push. You have plenty saved. I assumed you'd never notice. I lifted a hand to stop her. No more performances. And just like that, her tears evaporated. Her real face surfaced. Not wounded. Not scared. Irritated. As if my refusal to be manipulated was an inconvenience. By noon, a representative from Lakeview Credit Union showed up with Officer Rowan. They handed Tara a folded document. A 30-day eviction notice for cause. She stared down at it, stunned. Then her pupils constricted again. The look of a predator discovering it has no teeth. This is my house, she spat. No, Marcus said softly behind her. It's my father's. You just lived here. His voice wavered. But it didn't break. He looked at Tara like a man realizing. The person he loved had been wearing someone else's skin. As she stormed toward the door with her bag, Tara paused beside me. She leaned in. Just enough so only I could hear. Her voice didn't shake. That scared me more than if she'd screamed. You shouldn't have, Doug, she whispered. You weren't meant to wake up to this. And trust me. Her eyes sharpened. You haven't seen half of what's coming. Then she walked out. A quiet villain stepping into the daylight. With no cameras left to protect her. As the door closed, and the house exhaled its first honest breath in months, I understood something chilling. What Tara had done wasn't the whole story. It wasn't even close. It was just the beginning. Of something bigger than a forged signature. And darker than a broken marriage. And whatever was coming next was already on its way. The day after Tara left, the house felt different. Not peaceful. Not healed. But honest for the first time in months. No fake candles. No staged backdrops. No syrupy, glowpath mornings. Just air I could finally breathe. But the silence didn't last long. By mid-morning, my phone rang. Nora. Her voice was low, precise. The voice she used when something was wrong. Leonard, we've expanded the audit, she said. There are 3 separate financial anomalies linked to your address. 3. My fingers tightened around the phone. One is the forged loan. The second is an attempted credit line increase filed in your name. You didn't request that, correct? No, I said. Never. And the third? She hesitated. Is a preliminary application for a home equity withdrawal tied to your down payment. My pulse thudded in my ears. Was it approved? I whispered. No. The system flagged it for missing documentation. But, Leonard. Her tone softened, almost apologetic. Someone tried. Someone tried to take the roof over my son's head. And mine. There's more, she added. Our fraud team wants to see you in person. They believe this wasn't improvised. It was coordinated. Coordinated. The word hit me like a second betrayal. When I hung up, Marcus was standing in the doorway. He'd heard enough. Dad, his voice cracked. Was she trying to take the house? I nodded once. He sat heavily at the kitchen table, elbows on his knees. I loved her, he whispered. Not in defense, just a confession he didn't know how to live with anymore. I know, I said. He rubbed his face, then looked up, eyes raw. Did she ever love me? Or was I just, useful? That question didn't break me. It broke the room. I think she loved the version of you she could control, I said gently. Not the real you. He swallowed hard, nodding through the kind of pain that changes a person forever. Around noon, the doorbell rang. A woman stood outside, mid-30s, red eyes, folder in hand. Are you Leonard Cole? She asked. Yes. I'm Lydia. I was part of Glowpath Studio. Tara said you were the main investor. A cold weight settled in my gut. What did she take from you? I asked quietly. Lydia held up her folder. Full of receipts, payment confirmations, coaching invoices. She told me you believed in her. She said you backed her financially. I invested everything I had, almost $9,000. Her throat tightened. And I wasn't the only one. Behind her, 2 more women approached from the sidewalk. Another from a parked car. A man holding a binder walked up slowly. One by one, they gathered in my yard. Like survivors from the same quiet storm. Tara hadn't just lied to me. She had built an empire of illusions. And used my name as her foundation. Inside, we spread documents across the dining table. Screenshots, emails, payment histories. Patterns surfaced like bruises. Same script. Same promises. Same manipulations. And everywhere, my name. My father-in-law is backing the expansion. Leonard believes in us. We secured family investment. Marcus stared at the papers, horror dawning slowly. Dad, he whispered. She wasn't just planning to leave you broke. She was setting you up as the face of her entire scam. His voice trembled. She was using you as cover. Lydia slid a business card toward me. Not Glowpath. A man Tara mentioned occasionally. A name I'd assumed was motivational fluff. Gareth Pike. Growth architect and strategic scaling specialist. Private clients only. On the back, handwritten notes. Deadline, Q4 targets. Must show growth metrics. Investor patience thinning. Secure funds fast, any means. Any means. My breath stilled. This wasn't Tara flailing alone. This was Tara following pressure, orders, deadlines. Nora's words echoed through me. This wasn't improvised. It was coordinated. Tara wasn't the architect. She was an operative. Marcus sank into a chair, face drained. Dad, she dragged us into something bigger. He swallowed. What if they come after you next? Or us? His voice was cracking in a way only the truth can break a person. I placed a hand on his shoulder. We'll handle it, I said. We have the truth. But his eyes stayed full of fear. At 4:17 p.m., 2 unmarked sedans pulled up outside. 2 men stepped out, calm, official, unreadable. Badges. Mr. Cole, the taller one said. We're with the Financial Crimes Division. We need to talk. Marcus's breath hitched. Is this about Tara? The agent shook his head. It's about everyone connected to her. As the investigators walked into my living room. Notebooks open, tone heavy. I understood something new and terrifying. Tara didn't just try to steal from me. She didn't just betray Marcus. She dragged us into the orbit of people who don't care about families, marriages, or lives left in ruins. Her threat had been real. And the storm she warned about. The one she said I hadn't even seen half of. Had finally arrived. When federal agents step into your living room, the air doesn't get heavier. It gets sharper. Like the edges of the world suddenly snap into focus. Agent Farrow introduced herself first, tall, composed, eyes that catalogued everything. Agent DeLuca followed, quieter, analytical, the kind of man who never wasted a syllable. They spread files across my coffee table until the wood all but disappeared beneath paper. My name was on almost every page. Not as a suspect. As collateral. "Mr. Cole," Farrow said, tone steady. "We believe you're the primary financial victim in a coordinated fraud network involving Ms. Tara Lawson." Hearing her name delivered like a case file hit harder than any insult she'd ever thrown at me. Marcus sat beside me, jaw set, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles went white. DeLuca slid a sheet forward. "This is a timeline of Ms. Lawson's financial activity across the last 18 months. The list was longer than I expected. Withdrawals. Transfers. Vanishing coaching revenue. Payments to unnamed consultants. Cryptic notes. Loan applications, including the forged one. And threading through nearly all of it. My identity, used like a tool." Agent Farrow tapped a name that appeared over and over. "Gareth Pike, the strategic scaling specialist." Her expression didn't shift, but her tone did. "We know him. He operates a shell network. Targets people who want fast money. Pushes them into reckless financing. High pressure. High manipulation." Marcus stiffened. "So. Tara was working for him?" Farrow nodded. "In some capacity. He advised her. Guided her. Pressured her." Then DeLuca added with clinical precision. "And when she couldn't deliver, she escalated." That word felt like a door slamming shut inside my chest. Escalated. To me. To my assets. To my life. DeLuca opened a laptop and turned it toward me. She synced her cloud backups. She didn't know we accessed them. Screens filled with screenshots. Messages from Gareth. Timelines. Warnings. Directives. Secure additional funds. Use the father-in-law. He's malleable. Push the narrative of decline. He won't question you, grief makes people compliant. My blood went cold. They hadn't just exploited me. They had studied me. Marcus pushed back from the table so hard his chair scraped the floor. She said those things about my father." His voice broke. Farrow didn't sugarcoat it. "She manipulated you first. You weren't the target, you were the gateway." Marcus paced the room with both hands in his hair. "I married someone who used me," he whispered. "No. I believed someone who never existed. I stood and steadied him." "You loved the person she pretended to be," I said softly. "That's not your failure." He didn't speak. He just leaned forward and pressed his forehead to my shoulder, shaking. Late afternoon, the agents gathered their notes. "Mr. Cole," Farrow said. "We'll be moving forward with a formal indictment." Marcus swallowed. "What about Gareth?" DeLuca's answer was immediate. "He's next. Your case fits into a larger operation." Larger. This hadn't been about a forged signature. It was a tile in a mosaic of fraud. Bigger, darker, and far more intentional than I realized. 2 days later, Nora called. The charges were official. Bank fraud. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Attempted grand larceny. Conspiracy to defraud. An arrest warrant was issued. Marcus stared at the news alert, visibly shaken. "What happens now?" he asked. "I'm not sure," I admitted. And I wasn't. Not yet. That evening, Tara resurfaced. Not in person. But on a live stream filmed from some unknown Airbnb or borrowed corner of someone else's life. Her face was tear-streaked, her voice trembling with performative bravery. "They're lying," she whispered to thousands of followers. "They want to silence women who succeed." Glowpath was a movement. "I'm the real victim." Heart emojis flooded the chat. Comments scrolled faster than I could read. "Stay strong, Queen. They're just jealous. We've got your back." My stomach twisted. Tara was building a new identity. Not as a guru, but as a martyr. And the worst part? People were buying it. Marcus watched silently, eyes hollow. "She's not done," he finally whispered. "No," I said. "No. Not by a long shot." Weeks passed. Tara was arrested. Processed. Released on bond. The court dates were set. The investigations broadened. The cracks widened. But the dread didn't fade. Because every night, sitting alone in the dim kitchen with a cup of tea cooling beside me, one thought hovered like a shadow I couldn't shake. Tara was small compared to the people she answered to. And men like Gareth Pike don't disappear. Just because one of their puppets gets caught. As I turned off the kitchen light and walked toward the bedroom, I felt something settle at the edges of the house. A tension, a quiet, a waiting. Tara had fallen. But the people above her, the ones who trained her, used her, benefited from her lies, they were still out there. And they hadn't forgotten about me. Some endings come loudly. Sirens, shouting, handcuffs. But mine arrived quietly. On a Tuesday morning where the world looked unchanged. Even though everything in my life had shifted. The trial dragged on for weeks. Witness after witness. Pages of documents. Victims telling their stories with trembling voices. Tara sat through it all with unnerving stillness. No tears. No guilt. Just the rigid posture of someone convinced. She could outwait the truth. But the truth didn't need her permission. When the jury returned, it took them only 5 hours. Guilty. On fraud. On identity theft. On conspiracy. On attempted larceny. Tara didn't flinch. Didn't look at me. Didn't even look at Marcus. As the marshals approached, her gaze finally cut toward me. Controlled, cold, deliberate. "You should have stayed quiet," she mouthed. Then she was gone. And in the silence that followed, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Air. Breath. Space. A week later, Agent Farrell called. "We have Gareth Pike," she said. "He ran multiple coaching schemes. Glowpath was just one. He's charged and in custody." I waited for relief. What came instead was a dull, heavy ache. Because Tara hadn't been operating alone. She'd been coached. Pushed. Shaped by someone who saw people as ladders. Someone showed her how to weaponize family. That evening, Marcus came over. He sat beside me on the porch, staring at his hands. "I don't recognize myself anymore," he whispered. "She pulled me so far into her world. I didn't see anything clearly." I rested a hand on his arm. "You see clearly now." He nodded, but this time, there was a spark behind the exhaustion. "I want to be better than this," he said softly. "For you. And for me." It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was the first time since this nightmare began that Marcus chose something for himself. Instead of reacting to someone else's manipulation. And that mattered. Over the next few months, things slowly, painfully, returned to order. The bank restored my accounts. My credit was repaired. Glowpatha's victims formed a support circle. I joined the first meeting silently. Listened to their stories. and recognized parts of my own in every one of them. The house felt warmer. Quieter. Honest. The kind of silence that comes after a storm. The kind that lets things grow again. Then one morning. A plain envelope arrived. From Tara. Her handwriting was sharp and deliberate. Leonard. You think you won. You didn't. I'm rebuilding everything you tore down. And I'm already talking to people. Who understand what you did to me. You'll see. No remorse. No accountability. Just a wounded ego. Still trying to rewrite the narrative. I folded the letter carefully. Not from fear. But because it was evidence. Of exactly who she had always been. That afternoon. I went to the cemetery. For the first time since the trial ended. I sat beside Evelyn's stone. And let myself breathe. I did what we always promised each other, I whispered. I protected our family. Even when it hurt. A breeze lifted across the grass. Soft, warm. Not a sign. Just a comfort. A reminder that some silences heal. Instead of harm. Later that week. Marcus came for dinner. We made Evelyn's lentil stew together. He stirred. I seasoned. And for the first time in months. The kitchen felt like a place where life could restart. We ate in companionable quiet. Not fearful silence. Not manipulated silence. Just peace. The kind of silence taught us to fear. That night, as I washed the dishes. And the hum of the refrigerator filled the warm kitchen. I realized something. Tara took months of my life. She damaged finances, reputations, trust. But she didn't win. Because the truth doesn't need volume or spectacle. It only needs time. And for the first time since all of this began. Silence no longer felt like a warning. It felt like freedom.